Hey everybody, it's me Zombie, and today I'm going to be showing you what I am working on my Jill cosplay from Resident Evil. Today I'm working on the harness, and as you can see it is made out of EVA foam. The first step I did was to trace two kind of rounded off rectangles that fit over my shoulders just like the harness should. Once I got it all cut out, you can see the edges are kind of rough there. We'll be able to fix that later. I'll show you. Next, I cut out my little middle piece. It's going to be going on the back of the harness, and it'll be all fit together exactly like that. I'm going to be using my Dremel to kind of smooth down all of those side pieces so they're not so rough and they look a lot nicer. Here they are all done and smoothed down, and they look a lot better than they did before anyway. On the design for the harness, there is this line that goes across both of the shoulder panels. So what I did is I just put a ruler in the middle of them and traced a line, and I aligned both of my pieces on the edge of the table just so I can make that line even. To put in that little line that I was talking about, I'm going to be using a heat tool. And all you do is you just trace that Sharpie line. Be careful with this thing. It is really freaking hot. Okay, once that's all done, we're gonna need to curve these things so they can fit on our shoulder correctly. How I'm doing that is I'm using a heat gun, which is pretty much a super powerful hairdryer. I usually turn it on to the highest setting. You can turn it on to any setting that you're comfortable with. I just usually do the back side first. Just kind of evenly displace all the heat back there. And once I'm done with that, I manipulate it with my fingers. Notice that I am trying to put my fingers on the cool side of the foam as much as possible. I've never been burned by a hot foam after a heat gun, but it is really hot, so be careful. Alright, here are both of the pieces after being heat gunned. They're both pretty curvy, and keep in mind you can re-manipulate them later if they're not curvy enough. I did the same thing for my back piece. Now I'm going to be contacting cement all of this stuff together. I'm just going to take a somewhat generous amount and put it on one side. And do the same thing for the other side that you want that piece to stick to. After waiting for about 15 minutes, or until both sides are no longer shiny and wet, you can stick them together! Yay! And once it's stuck together, it is not going to come off without being torn apart into a gajillion pieces. So make sure that you're very sure where you're going to put your pieces before you stick them together. I have made this mistake many times. Everything is stuck together! Now I made my last little collar piece that you see here. I'm just going to glue it right on like I did everything else. After it was all stuck together, I saw that there were some bits on the inside that I didn't like very much, so I went back over with a Dremel to correct them. And there it is, all stuck together. I tried it on just to make sure that it fit, and it fit how I needed it to. I'll show you the back too. I also noticed that there were these little holes where buttons were supposed to sit on the vest area, so I used a cap from a fabric paint to trace little circles. But of course, when I pulled out my heat tool, I found that there was a perfect circular tool already screwed onto the end that would have been perfect, so I didn't have to trace anything in the first place. So what I did was I sat the curved ends of the vest down onto the table using my very hot heat tool, and I pressed it right over where the circles were traced. And I did that for the whole vest. Now it's time to Plasti-Dip. Plasti-Dip is a rubberizing coater that you spray over your foam to seal it, so when you paint it, the paint won't chip off. And here's my first layer of Plasti-Dip over the harness. Kind of see with the lighting, it's kind of dark at this point. That's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Next time I'm going to be putting straps on this harness.